very much. We are talking about suddenly people manager, so things you haven't been told. I believe that you have been told things for becoming suddenly people manager. And I'd like to tell you some stories in becoming suddenly people manager. In my journey of becoming a leader, I know that I was not prepared and supported by organizations. And in fact, some of them tried to prevent that by saying they wouldn't finance a training. And this was also true for my colleagues who later became leaders in these organizations. In a survey where thousands of leaders were asked how well they felt prepared for their first 10 leadership role, they said only 90% felt prepared. And then tell me, hands up, who of you actually felt prepared for your first time leadership? Actually, who of you is a leader? And then keep the hands up if you think that you felt prepared for your first time leadership role. Only two, that's it. Okay, three. And so this is what we need to think about. Also, let's check that. On average, managers take on their first leadership role at age 30 on average, and receive their first leadership training at age 42. So yeah, you can't imagine that. So this is 12 years of a difference. So no wonder that people leave bad bosses. This is because we don't take the effort to create great bosses. And so why are we even considering promoting people to their first leadership role without the training? Yeah. Leaders get to be promoted because of their success in their previous roles. Do you know the Peter principle? Yeah. This means that every employee tends to rise to their level of incompetence, meaning in your previous role, you might have had great competency, and then you rise to a level of competency, and at some point, you are stuck in a level of incompetency. And you know, this is coined by Dr. Lawrence J. Peter. So this is not an imaginary person called Peter who is stuck in a level of incompetency. So he observed it and explained it in a book in 1969, so way back then. And when leaders rise to a level of incompetency, this is where I as a coach come in. So let me introduce myself a little bit more. Yeah? I'm Birgit, I'm a coach, and I tell leaders how to lead and how to create high-performing teams through culture. I'm also an engineering leader. This is why I'm probably here in the Tech Hive. And I also lead teams, coach them, and also train them. I like to create self-organized teams. And I also like to create cross-functional teams because I think this is the most performing unit. And later you will know why. In my childhood, I developed a passion for everything that's creative and sports, and I discovered the passion for team sports and esports. And somehow I always ended up forming groups, and groups that have the same interests. So I led them and I also organized these groups. I also like to create products and form startups. And my most favorite framework for new products and product improvement is design thinking, because this one enables teams and also includes teams. I see the individual, I also see the system, and I see many needs and desires that want to be aligned. And this is where I help. But when would you see coaching? For example, to prevent the Peter principle kicking in, you know, you could also come to me for career development and promotions. And by the way, I have 100% success in suggesting people to get promoted and getting a salary increase. You know why? I tell you the secret. This is because members get a high transparency of when and why they should be promoted and gain a salary increase. So before they are even suggested for this journey, they know what they need to work on. And you also come to me if you want to prevent burnout, taking the right strategies and you know how many projects you can handle and want to handle, yet still be successful. I know that a lot of first-time leaders like to take on many projects at the same time. If you have a hard time to manage teams, or if you find it hard to align teams, for example, and also change teams, for example, if you want to establish new culture and new behavior, this is also something where I can help out. If you find it hard to define strategies, or if you just simply want to create innovative and high-performing teams, you can come to me. I come from a working class family, and I know that a lot of new leaders have the same experience. So let's talk about lesson 1. No one tells a working class child they would be leading in the future. So let's imagine back at school, you might have a high chance that your teachers may embrace your creativity, your logical thinking, and also they maybe tell you that you're good in sports. But the system is not built to make you think you could be leading one day. This is a fatal error, because the mindset is set to not expect and therefore not prepare for the leadership role. So let's imagine Elliot. And by the way, I have seen some Elliot, so let me introduce you, Elliot. Elliot comes from a working class family as well. And by the way, it doesn't need to be, maybe Elliot comes from an academic family. They finished studies with good grades and started working as a software engineer. And so, though Elliot had a tough time at school, there always was a helpful person. And Elliot stood out because of their technical expertise. And also Elliot was liked by the team members. And now, since Elliot's boss was promoted to a higher leading position, the boss said, you could make a really great leader. And so I have seen these types of personality as well, because Elliot said, uh-oh, Elliot is not sure about that offer. I know a lot of leaders who were unsure about that offer and delayed this journey for them. They delayed it and maybe also didn't take it in the end. And so Elliot was not prepared for this offer. So Elliot is hesitant. And furthermore, what would other team members think about that? Isn't there Tom and Brittany who are better suited for this position? And don't get me wrong, not every person is unsure about becoming a leader. So let me ask you, when you became a leader, were you unsure about becoming a leader? Hands up. And who of you were sure becoming a leader? And I know that some people didn't feel prepared for this, even though you were sure and you were unsure about this. So I was also very sure about my journey of becoming a leader. I was determined. And so I jumped deep in the end. In German, it would be like jumping into the cold water. Yeah. And in lesson 2, we will also learn to know Mitchell. Mitchell is a character in Stargate season 9 and 10. And Mitchell is like Elliot, promoted after doing something very heroic. He saved the Earth. He has been promoted to lead the team of Stargate's best team, which is called SG-1. Who of you know Stargate? Hands up. And yeah, which is why the rest may not know Stargate. So let me tell you a little bit about that. So Stargate is a series where the concept is to go through like Stargate in order to travel to other planets, unknown planets, in order to find technology. This is why to defend against aliens who would like to dominate the entire universe, which also includes Earth. And this is a tough burden for Mitchell. You know? So Mitchell didn't feel prepared. And he also said it in the series, you can look it up. Mitchell was trained to be a soldier for Earth activities. So he wasn't trained for this. He didn't feel prepared to jump into the Stargate, face the unknown, and to face a race that tries to dominate any other being in the universe. So he went to General O'Neill, and by the way, General O'Neill was the former team lead of that team. And so Mitchell said, General, I don't feel prepared for this. And so let me share you the advice that General O'Neill needed to learn the hard way himself. And this is what he said, quote, "You weren't ready, and nobody gets to be ready. Nobody gets to be prepared for what happens here. You deal with it as it comes." And this reflects the unpredictable nature of the Stargate program and how even the best training cannot prepare us for the unpredictable. So let it sink in for a moment. No training can prepare us for the unpredictable. So we don't know what comes, so how can we train for this? If we think about Elliot, no software engineering language can prepare us for that. And let's have a look at that. Wait, what? I was not prepared for this, Elliot says. How can General O'Neill put Elliot into this situation? In fact, everything that Elliot has learned at university wouldn't help here. And because the skills are required for leadership roles are different. So let's take a look at some examples. This is what Elliot has learned at university for computer science. There are some tech skills, some programming, even some scientific programming. So maybe Elliot has created a new algorithm that works better than the previous one and has proven that the algorithm has worked better. So Elliot knows how to work scientifically. And maybe you know, as techies yourself, that when you went to university, only a fraction of what you've learned in the university can be applied to your work and then inside an organization. So what can we actually apply in a leadership role? So this is what Elliot didn't learn at school, but needed to learn at school. This is about people, communication, decision-making, how to position oneself, project management, so the management of time, presenting, and by the way, I need a second slide, hiring, team structures, personalities, culture, and conflict management is one of the most topics asked inside an engineering management interview. Change and transformation and strategy. Oh my God, this is a lot. Yeah, all of these topics come from areas other than computer science. And many of these come from psychology. You know, there's a fun fact. There are many engineering managers and engineering leaders, and I also have come to know that non-engineering managers and engineering leaders are going to university again in order to study psychology. So I learned to know that I'm not unique because I started psychology learning as well. So I'm studying psychology as well. I just started it. So why are we doing this? Perhaps we didn't feel prepared. And so maybe we also want to have a deep understanding of people management. But let's be honest, where is this knowledge really coming from? And I found something on the internet that might have the answer. The 70-20-10 model. This was researched by the Center for Creative Leadership in 1980. And so what they were researching was the key developmental experience of successful managers. And 70-20-10 means that, let's get real, 70% of the knowledge of people comes from job-related tasks. So you learn on the job. And then 20% comes from interactions with others. And this might be coaching, mentorship, talking with others about situations. And then only 10% comes from formal education. So the study and the workshop and the training. For hands-on engineers, this is why organizations are starting to create center of excellences. So when do we start to do that for leaders? Elliot says, I need to have a safe space to learn from my mistakes and try things. And not only need they us to have that safe space and learn to make mistakes, but also we need to give Elliot to have that safe space. Elliot should have some safe space to make experiments, be creative, and playfully trying out things and also trying out new leadership theories. and maybe also forming their own leadership theories. And I happen to know a place to do that. And now it gets really nerdy. Esports is not bad. It's a perfect place to enhance your leadership skills, and I will prove you why. I'm a gamer. I played a lot of games, and when I was younger, in fact, I grew up with this. One of the famous family images with my brother and me was how we covered our faces just to say, no pictures today, Mom. We need to beat Bowser and save the princess. We gotta catch them all. And so I did not only play the classics, but later on started getting into team sports such as volleyball, and started also playing team esports such as World of Warcraft. And I know it gets really nerdy, but I will explain how sourceful this can be. Who knows World of Warcraft? And then please be honest, raise the hands if you played it or still play it.
Sorry, what?
Raise the hands if you still play it or have played it. Yeah, I think that those who have played it might be great leaders. There was also a study back then when they figured out that gamers might be really good leaders. And I tell you why. So you might think, what has gaming to do with leadership? And the obvious elements are the belonging and having fun. And these are great elements to have in order to learn something new. And the other thing that you need to have is commitment. And when you have commitment, you start to organize. And when you organize, you start to have an organization. And so when you have an organization, you start to suggest to do an adventure. The philosopher Jean-Baptiste Say coined the word entrepreneurship, which means adventure. And so how would Elliot try out esports to learn about leadership? Well, Elliot needs to start a group. And this is what we do when we are creating an organization or a team. So the first thing that we need to check is why we would need to start a group. And here, let's compare real organization with esports groups. So the first thing why you would need to start an organization is to form a vision. Yeah? So for organizations, you may have seen that a lot of organizations have been formed because they want to save the planet's climate. And then for esports groups, you have a lot of sports groups who would like to be the first. In this case, Elliot likes to be ranking world first. And this is very competitive, Elliot. I didn't know that you had it in you. So let me ask you in the audience, would you join Elliot's mission? Start a game to rank world first. We have one person, we have 2 people, 3 people, nice. And so let me ask you the other way around. Would you like to be part in an organization that is the first to save the planet's climate? I think we have something in common here. So, but let's also think about as consuming group, who would be the target group and consume the products of that organization. In organizations, we have users and customers who buy our product or take our services. And in esports, we usually have the audience, but also let's think about the team members who are going with you for the journey of being world first. What else do I need, Elliot asks. Well, ranking world first is a different setting from just casually playing every now and then. You're really committed, so you need to be there regularly. So this is a little bit bigger than just a free time project. This is starting to get really serious. Yeah, you see where we can playfully create and develop our leadership skills. Elliot needs to have investors and a budget. So when we compare this again, for organizations, we have several investment models, business budget, and for the esports, maybe you have that as well, but let's be like semi-professional, yeah? You have the team members who regularly invest in your guild treasury, for example. And I was quite surprised to learn to know that a character's armory is the biggest cost center to repair those when you're going for world first. And you know where the biggest cost center for a real organization is. So business and business model is set up. Now, what about the team? And for people management, I think this is a very interesting thing to think about. First, when you start an organization, you need to think about what kind of people you would like to have in your organization. And you might think about front and back end and platform developers. You might think about marketing, sales, and design. And in sports, for example, you might think about, like, I play volleyball. You need to have a setter, you need to have a middle blocker, outside hitter, and whatnot. And in football, you also have people in the front, in the middle, on the side, in the back, in the goal. So for esports, you also have roles such as the heal, the damage dealer, and the tank, for example. And when you have the roles defined, you put them into a single team. So you start to create a team. And then you might have in organizations such as front-end team, back-end team, maybe also cross-functional teams. And did you know that almost always sports and esports have cross-functional teams? But this is why we have a healer, a tank, and a damage dealer, like very specific roles that in the end form an entire unit to create something or to like establish or create an achievement in the end that you can only do together. And here we also think about scaling. So once you are successful with your single team, you want to achieve bigger things. So you think about the organizational structure. So you not only have one 5-man team, you may have like a 10 people group, a 25 people group. This is what I have dealt with back then in World of Warcraft, but nowadays you can scale it to an unlimited number of people. How do I get the team? Elliot is asking. I was quite surprised to learn this is exactly the same way as we do for organizations. Yeah, we have a candidate CV, we have a job ad, we have active sourcing. And by the way, I've learned to come to know the active sourcing and thought, wait a minute, I didn't know that term, but I did do that before I turned 18. And we have hiring pipelines, so we learn to know each other, and we have onboardings. So we tell people when and how we do the rating. We tell them who is who, we tell them structures and stuff like that. My managers want me to check the performance of my team. And who is a middle manager? Sometimes I am. Yeah, I know that a lot of middle managers need to deal with that. And so we also have something to exercise inside an esports team. You have due dates, for example. In organizations, you might have the tech season or what's coming up, the Black Friday, the quarterly goals, 6-month goals, yearly goals, and stuff like that. And so you also have seasons and end game content in games. Yeah, in sports, for example, volleyball season just has started and the beach volleyball season just has ended. And then when you want to measure the performance of a team, you have multiple things to do that inside an organization and a log in esports. That one is called damage meter in World of Warcraft. And when you see that a damage dealer is not dealing enough damage, you can go to that person and say, let's talk about an improvement. And so Elliot is asking, where else can I find a safe space of exercising leadership? I know that many people here might not be gamers like I am, so I have 3 suggestions where you can do that. For example, you can organize and lead a team sports team, or you could be leading a project in a non-profit organization, or you could be team leading in a firefight organization. And in fact, these are things that some of my coaches are doing in order to improve their leadership skills in a safe space. And you know what? Their bosses and their team members are seeing the results. So this is really successful. This is really sourceful. What if no one wants to participate in my free time organization, Elliot asks. And this is a big thing. I mean, I know that, for example, nonprofit organizations also start with 7 people, perhaps. So where do you get them? And this is a lesson for how to convince someone to do something for free for you. And with for free, I don't mean that you can hand out pizza or beer. I mean, you literally have nothing to give. Let me rephrase that a little bit. How do you convince 200 people to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning to do something with you? I mean, why would someone even get up at night? I wouldn't, you know. So, but unless, what is it that you desire? What is it that you wish the most right now? Would you get up at 3 a.m. in the morning if I told you your desire would be fulfilled if you did that? I see some nodding here. That's nice. So the question is, what would be your intrinsic motivator of doing something that might be eventually uncomfortable for you? So when we think about the 200 people, this is a lesson that I interestingly also learned at gaming. So, and I am applying this in my today's leadership lessons as well. So I learned that many players didn't have the achievement, like a certain achievement, and they didn't collect that certain reward, which was a mount. And I'm telling you, a lot of players like to collect mounts because they want to show off that they are great players. This is similar to talking on a conference to show off a bit, you know. So in World of Warcraft, when you start this game with a new character, you need to decide between one of these 2 fractions, Horde or Alliance. And so it happens that 3 times more people went to the Alliance than going to the Horde. And of course, I'm a Horde person, so I still go to the Horde. The problem, in order to get the mount, we needed to raid the opponent's fraction's cities. And oh boy, this was impossible during the day. Of course, you had a lot of activities, right, during the day. Everyone was awake. So I had the idea and announced an event at 3 a.m. in the morning in the middle of the week. And for some reason, there was a big movement. Now, I was surprised that 200 people signed up for this and wouldn't even consider the crazy idea to join at night at 3 a.m. in the morning. So you see, we just faced a handful of people on the opponent side. So this was easy to handle. And the feeling of having achieved something that difficult, this was great. And this was great for everyone. This was a true feeling. We celebrated still at night. So do you have team members on call? And you know, on call is something where people get up at 3 a.m. in the morning. This is uncomfortable, right? I think that many people would rather sleep at night. So in this case, check what the goal or the desire of the team member is and how you both can come together. Check that you have similar goals. And I know that some developers, for example, decide to go for on-call because they like to earn some extra coin in order to buy whatever expensive thing they like to have. So let's sum it up. Elliot has learned that with common goals, their team members will be more motivated to achieve them. And this is true for everyone. For example, for everyone who would like to save the planet, right? And also, Elliot knows a safe place to safely train leadership skills and finally be prepared for the leadership role. And think about, where could you train your leadership skills safely without the judgment, without like the performance review included, something where you can experiment. And so also Elliot asked, where can I find more about this? Now, of course, you can check more leadership skills and get in touch with me on LinkedIn. And now we come to the Q&A. Do you have any questions?
Yes, first of all, please give it up for Birgit. Thank you for the nice presentation. There's a question in the back.
Hi, thank you for the talk. Very insightful and very nice way to explain in leadership and how to train it. In addition to esports, I would say, at least from my experience and my partner, so parentship, so like having two toddlers can learn, taught us a lot in leadership. What I see from my peers in my company, like less experienced managers, so I'm doing it for 3-4 years, so I know something, but I still learning, of course, how to become better in expectation management, because I think this is where new leaders fail a lot, just to set right expectations, both with your team members, but also like upwards, like to your manager. How would you recommend to practice this?
I believe that, I mean, this is a very good question, and this happens a lot, right? And I believe that a failed expectation management always comes with a surprise. Was this surprise happening in your case as well?
I try to believe that now I'm better, but yeah, sometimes you come to performance management and then you say, like, yeah, your performance is not great. And I kind of was telling it every week, like every week. I mean, like when I received this person to be to my team. And so, yeah, that was a surprise, but I think it's like kind of getting to people to understand the expectations.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's quite difficult. So what would you recommend?
Yeah. So the recommendation I can give, and when it comes to surprises especially, is to be as transparent as possible and also as detailed as possible. And I know that developers might not like to be as detailed as possible, but this is why you are trying to develop methods that are comfortable for the developers and also lead them to be more detailed as well. So I have developed methods that by the way, also led to the 100% success in order to figure out why should I promote you to the next position? Yeah, for example, mid-level engineers to be senior engineers. Why is it that? Yeah. And so we figured out the requirements for this and where the requirements are missing for the person to be promoted to the next level. And when people have this expectation clear, they can also come up with a checklist of saying, yes, I have that, but not only saying yes, I always would like to have an example. And when they have an example, I can take that example and go to like my managers and my bosses and say, yes, this person has fulfilled this because of this project, because of the success, and so on and so forth. And the same also goes when you have new people and you like to onboard them. The first thing that you would like to do at the start is to check whether the job description is still the same as being advertised at the very beginning of the hiring pipeline. So you need to recheck that one. And then when you have that, you align the expectations because maybe you have an understanding that the other person doesn't have. So you would like to make that transparent as well. So there are several ways of doing so, of how to do expectation management. There is no one size fits all. And this is why it's so difficult to lead. And this is why you need to check and yeah, you need to train and exercise and experiment with this as well.
We have another question over here.
Thank you for the talk. It was an interesting review for World of Warcraft. One point you touched in the beginning, and it's something I've seen at our company as well, like people recently became a leader, they tried to do everything right, and it looked like they're about to burn out, and then they didn't do anything really good because they tried too much. Maybe at one point you already raised, like, be transparent. What are other strategies to prevent that? And also, like, me as a team leader, a team member seeing that, how can I try to help them?
So this is a very interesting point that you say, and also you're asking this from a team member point of view, right? So I wouldn't expect a team member to do that, but if you are trying to create that sense, then again, this is something that comes from psychology. Because if a person, and it can be another engineer, it can be another leader, tries to take a lot of projects there might be an internal fear, an internal conflict with the person to like to tell people that they are valued, that you are valuable, and that they are also great people, so that they are competent in the area that they're in. So this is more of like a psychology thing. So when a person's doing that, they also like to take control of things as well. I just know a handful of leaders that actually can take on that many projects and still be healthy. So this is why a lot of leaders tend to burn out, because when they see, I am not in control of that project, that project, that project, and all of them are going towards the due date, then of course they face a lot of fear, and then they are burning out. And this is why I always tell people, like I tell the leaders, let's do one thing after another. Let's not take 10 projects inside this team. Let's be successful with one thing first, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. I have seen a lot of teams that have taken like 10 projects at the same time and never were successful. So these teams were, of course, frustrated about everything. And then I have seen the other teams who have taken one project after another, and they were unable to celebrate these successes in the end, even though they were difficult, of course. There were some difficult projects and there were some delay as well, of course, but they were unable to focus and therefore in the end celebrate it. And celebrating is a positive emotion. Showing other people that a project has been finished, and you can also show this to your bosses, and your boss can show this to their bosses, and everyone is happy.
Great. We have one more question over here.
Thank you so much. And you have a great strategy of how to find this common denominator you're talking about, like this badge or whatever I want to achieve with my team, especially if we have team members coming from, let's say, other teams, or they are not voluntarily in your team, they got assigned to you. And how to find, especially if you already have a core team, how do you find this common goal again with new team members?
So usually I like to create a team workshop, maybe also many of these team workshops, in order to like see what they are feeling and why they're feeling this. So this again, it's like more of a psychology thing. And you're also talking about aligning the goals and why am I even in this team? I happen to know some people who just recently moved into a team, and they were asking, why am I in this team? I would rather be in a different team. So for these people, and by the way, please be careful, for these people, it's like rather painful to have been moved into a team than rather deciding on their own, I would like to learn this, and and then they are moved to a totally different team. And so you need to figure out what could be, like, even if they don't have the most desired thing, what could be a thing they could be learning in this team? Yeah, what would still be something that would be positive for this person in this team? And so when there's also a core team, this is also like something that happens often. So this core team is something that is already a team. So what they need to do is to create a culture that is inviting to the new members as well. Because I have seen teams with a core team not being inviting, and therefore creating two teams in one team. And you want to manage that this core team is someone who is onboarding the members and open to the new members, and therefore creating a bigger unit of one team.
Great. We have one more final question over here.
Hi, Birgit. Really nice presentation, and I guess I really like the concept at the beginning, when at a certain time we will meet the level of like incompetence when you are the manager. So I face another challenge. I come from Vietnam and travel back from Vietnam here, and we are in IT outsourcing kind of business. So actually we grow really fast. We grow like 500 people in just like 2.5 years. And so as a director, I have to promote a lot of like first-time managers.
Yeah.
So but before, a lot of employees work directly with me, and somehow I set a kind of like, let's say, idealistic image for a leader for them. And now a lot of our middle managers have faced a problem that a lot of their employees want to work directly with me, not through the middle managers. And because right now they're trying to define their own leadership styles. So if like how we can handle that kind of conflict and maybe like the situation, because it's I don't want to let the people go, either it's like the employees or the managers. So it's a really difficult situation for me.
That's
They're
indeed a
enjoying-
difficult situation. I mean,
Right.
you're the director and you have explained at least 3 things that I hear out that could be handled.
Right.
One thing is the rapid growth and therefore rapid change, right? And this is something that you would like to manage and have an eye on.
Right.
Also, since you have a rapid change, there might be a lot of people who could get exhausted because of the rapid change.
Right.
So we would like to manage that as well. And then since you have a rapid change and a lot of things going on, I have not seen any organization. We had a growth economy before our inflation, where companies have managed to do that without a bunch of coaches.
Right.
So you definitely should check out coaches who can help you change and transform the culture that you would like to have. And then be careful. You would like to have that change pausing at least at some point so that people can settle in and figure out where am I right now? How can I move from here and what would I like to have next? Yeah, and the next thing that you say that people would like to report towards you directly. This is because the new managers didn't get the trust. And what you could do as the director is to publicly give them the trust. So support them and tell them in public that these people are good managers and that they can be trusted. So support them in public. Yeah. And you could also do that with coaches as well, such as with me, go for leadership coaches, and then you could go for the details as well. Why is it that these people are not being trusted? And then we could work on that as well. And then there was a third thing. What was it again? Tell me the last sentences.
Is maybe the conflict, like, because I don't want to like let people go, because where there's a conflict, so you have to let some people go.
Mhm.
It's either, you know, the employees who work under them or the manager, because
I think in many cases, like organizations are moving too fast, right? So you have gotten some money and therefore changing, and therefore since people are not moving with you, they might need to get some more time to adjust. And maybe it's not necessary for them to like be laid off because they don't want to come with you. Maybe they just need more time to adjust and then turn and then coming with you. What I would suggest as well is to like do lots of feedback rounds. Ask the people in surveys, what is it that they like? What is it that they don't like? And see what you can figure out in order to improve why you are changing the organization.
thank you.
You're welcome.